have even went there. I got services.
Okay, we can
You
witness yourself.
even not only going there to get services, but also I can even say that we have some
only 30 minutes.
so not only in Busia, people who come from Busia County who go there to get maybe services, but other counties like Kampala, even they go there.
Let's shed blue.
Why should we not?
We are shedding blue.
Or some places.
We cannot settle with the grain because
according to the instruction, we are going to shed 10 of but it's moderate. On our criterion is when they're going to explain what we are discussing here. The health facilities are evenly distributed. Just be 100% right. Anyway, even if the facilities are there,
I said below.
100% no green. Green is moderate.
No.
Green is the better.
The better.
Moderate is blue.
It's blue.
Yeah.
Red is the poor. Let's use blue.
Was is red.
Blue is good.
Green.
Green is moderate.
No.
Yes, who comes from Samia? You have somebody from
The moderate is blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
The moderate is blue and the
Green is good.
The green is the good.
You come from Samia?
Yes.
Okay, who comes from Bunyana?
I also come from Bunyana.
But Samia, they are neighboring some counties.
Okay.
Samia and Bunyala,
Okay.
they are neighboring some counties.
You guys decide, but I would say green is a very good one. Red would be in moderate. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who comes from Butula?
So I only put one mark like
Let's
this.
find out. Because you may be shedding here moderate, and maybe somebody who is from here who tell about Butula, we shall be filled on what to do with it. Who comes from Butula?
The problem is, when I just discuss individual sub-county, what we know about sub-county. Because if you don't have somebody from here, we shall just guess and finish up the whole thing. But what we want, what we know shall write what we are able to know. According to him, he says, that place where we could, according to our see. Nobody's going to retire from that. So we just put green there.
No, green here and remove the other step.
We shall recommend on the other papers after shedding
Green.
Before you mark green,
Put number 1.
I have an input, please.
Let's put number 1.
About
Let
Teso North.
him give us something.
The last time I was in Teso North, and that it was the sub-county hospital. The services were not good. Kocholia. The services were not good. First, source of water. There was completely no water, and electricity was out. So that's why I'm saying we better use blue color than green.
When were you there?
Number 2.
Around 6 months ago. Less than 1 month.
But I was here last month. Yeah.
So how are the services? Okay, is it the whole of Teso North, or you are talking of Kocholia only?
Teso South now, we have already marked. Now Teso South.
Shade and mark them.
It is only the number.
We are going to use the key.
The sort of hospital, hospital. Another hospital. Teso South. Another hospital. Spoke is doing very well. Most people come real about what
That's on the
what they're doing very well. So that was just green.
Even they have sub-county hospital.
So
That's why I'm choosing Teso North to be well.
But
Is there any
the services in cases of drugs, medication,
You see what?
is good.
Maybe good in the look only. I don't know
Yeah.
the other health companies outside. I don't know. Satellite and all those other it's doing well. If there's somebody from the outside, the other area, can tell us what is happening outside there.
But we are talking about Alupe. But areas of Amukura,
You can tell us
Adongozi, as we go inwards, towards Amase.
it's served by a look.
Okay. But there is Amase dispensary is there. There is is it Kaliwa? Yeah.
We have a dispensary.
I don't know.
But generally, Teso South is good.
We'll have it blue.
Green.
Green.
We'll give it green. Somebody has concentrated. We want to see. Come to.
So we can say at least Teso South.
Yeah. Because you have blue.
Okay.
Nambale. Go to Matthias.
Nambale. Who comes
Sisi
from
mimi
Nambale?
natoka
Yes, I
Nambale.
also come from Nambale.
Nambale mimi nikiangalia naona kama service sio nzuri na iko moderate, kwa sababu tunaangalia the sub county. Kama sub county iko na sub ward kama 5. Ukiangalia line kuna dispensary karibu 2-3 ambazo zilianza na hazijaanza kufunction. Na sikiwa has function watu wa
Dispensaries 5.
5
or 3.
5 wards.
Kama 3 wards. Dispensaries. So hiyo the ward at 5. So hizo zikiwa hasihudumii watu, hiyo inamaanisha the service is not good. Dispensary ambayo ni sub count, health center dispensary facility ya south nini referral, tuseme referral, imepromotiwa kuwa referral, lakini bado inaishi kitengo cha kwanza kile cha health center. So hiyo inatuonyesha it is not giving the service that is required as a sub county referral.
That's Nambale Hospital.
That's Nambale Hospital.
Okay.
So it is moderate.
Labda uongezea pia tunatoka naye.
Those dispensaries, they fed only 2 nurses. And sometimes no nurse. When you go to one side of the world, that's what 3 dispensaries. The nurses only have 2 nurses. Sometimes you get the nurse and kufa, wakatransfer moja huku, kile kuna nurse hakuna.
Yeah.
So you supplies in terms of drugs.
Drugs are, in fact, there are no, most of them there are no drugs.
Even in addition to that, you come from Igare dispensary. Sometimes even getting AL drugs is
It's a problem. Even kids, just kids.
patient they go to buy outside, and yet they have paid.
The hospitals are
They are paying for that services.
The hospital are other stuff.
Even AL they don't have. Even Panadol.
So story buildings,
Is that
there are
way?
story buildings there.
red.
Nambale.
Red, that's red.
That's red.
Red.
Yeah,
Red.
that's red.
When infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Even here it's Matthias.
Yes. How many wards do you have here? How many wards do you have in Matthias?
Now, Matthias itself, where the sub-county is, at least drugs sometimes can be found there, but the working, the personnel, the staff, they have shown a lot of discrimination, especially when it comes to women. Somebody, if you can go to the hospital, an old man can go to the hospital at around
Can you hear me?
1 p.m.
Good.
But it's
John
just
did
away
come
from
with a
that
bell.
time.
I just want him to ring it to tell all of us you have 10 minutes to wind up. 10 minutes. By now you should have at least some kind of marking. Hata kama mwelewani, mkubaliane wapi ndio mtafika.
2.
Butula. Butula looks good. I've been there. I just was there in terms of but I think it's well served.
Butula is a bit better.
Butler, kwani tuipe, kuna vitu kadhaa vinaweza kusababisha. Iko na family care.
This Matthias is a
Mochari ziko huko hospitali na
Matthias is
kunyangu inafanya vizuri at least.
Matthias is not good.
It's
Totally.
That's why we get it.
Blue, it's fair.
Moderate.
Yeah, it's
Even
moderate.
not moderate. Just go to referral here at Busia.
But now we are not, that one goes to the car. Although it's in Matthias.
But we look at other factors. Like in this ward alone of Burumba, there are quite a number of facilities.
There is a dispensary here at Burumba, but there is mostly drugs. You cannot somehow get some drugs there.
Samia.
Those are good.
Samia is good. Samia has 4 wards, and at least each ward has a health facility. Although in terms of service delivery, drugs, nakwanga out of stock sometimes, and some services like theater, the sub-county hospital, sio pot.
So if you give it
Moderate. Tuwesema iko mzuri. The same to Bunyala. Bunyala has also 4 wards.
mwisho wa dunia
Mwisho wa dunia karibu na Uganda. And some services are also missing, like X-ray hakuna pot. So tuwesema ni mzuri sana.
but the government of the other day wakisema wataweka hii X-ray.
X-ray ni story tu. Haiko. It's not there. Kuna mashine nyingine ilipelekwa huko ikafunikwa na
Nilisikia taarifa.
Unaona Facebook It's not working. Hakuna X-ray pot.
So you give it the blue. So what are the results?
So in details now. So tukitaka kuchukua in details tuangalie those small now like wards as we have been talking in kama Nambale tuna ward ngapi na katika hizo ward dispensary zinatakana sio katika kila ward ndio kulingana na criteria huduma karibu. So ndio hii inasababisha tuweke hiyo red. Mtu atauliza mbona red na mbona green hizo kama vile amesema Samia hiyo ward ine kila ward iko na dispensary and service
lazima kuwe na sababu.
Now the criteria.
Just exchange. Come here.
You come here.
Kuja hapa kuna nafasi. Kwa sababu kutoa hivi zote tutakuwa watakapokuwa wanaanza kuja wataanza kupanga upya.
Ulianza na pesa unazo ndio? Inequality.
No, it will be general. The criteria will be general. Okay. What we are looking at.
Yes.
No, what I'm saying, the criteria should not go by some county. It will be general. What we are
General. Okay, generally.
Yes.
We were saying
Because in that case we are going to give the solution.
first of all, we have to put the criteria. What we are looking at
Yes.
is the accessibility of this health facility. We are seeing that at least in each and every ward, there is a health facility. That's what we are trying to look at. That's one of the first criteria. Most of the wards are get served by a health facility.
It has what? A health facility. A health facility. A health facility.
Now, you give recommendations on
Facilities. Each has a facility. Each has a facility.
What have you written?
Point 1.
Health
Health facilities. Each has.
Each ward.
Each ward, isn't it? Each ward.
Each ward.
Each ward. Has
Health facility.
Studio. That's point 1. 2.
Point 2, the criteria we used to find out this. Why we were giving 1, 2, 3 is that in areas where we have given 3, some of the wards don't have the health facilities
That are function.
we cannot specify the particular
Area. Marked 3. Studio.
3 and
3.
2.
Marked
3
3.
and 2.
3 and 2.
Not all the wards have the health facilities.
Not all. Has what facility? Studio.
The third criteria we are looking at the supplies and staffing.
Supplying and staffing.
Staffing.
Supplies and staffing. Some of the health facilities.
Supplies and staffing. Has it? Not
Some of the facilities don't have enough staff and
supplies and facility and staffing.
yes, some of the facilities. Continue writing.
Some of the facilities.
Don't have enough staff and supplies.
Some of the facilities,
Weka hapo dot mbili kwa ajili kwa sababu ya kuonyesha kwamba
some
kuna
of the
kitu
facilities
tunajaribu
don't have
Ataenda kuexplain.
enough staff, isn't it? And
Medical supplies.
medical
supplies.
supply. Yeah.
The fourth one will be accessibility. Some of the health facilities are not accessible during the
Some health facilities, yeah.
Some of the health facilities are not accessible.
Are not accessible.
What can be done?
Due to what?
Another criteria.
For example, due to poor roads, mama.
Yeah.
Due to poor, poor roads. Okay, now recommendations. Recommendations, yeah? Yeah?
Recommendation. Unless somebody has another criteria.
I was thinking about the recommendations, tungeziweka zikiwa pamoja, sio kwa kila kikundi. I was thinking that way. Sababu hapa tukiweka recommendation mingi zitafanana. The recommendations.
About the facilities. Can't you specify if it's drugs
Can specify.
or some, especially we look at what we saw that it's not there.
Kama kuna zile zimejengwa na tangu karibu miaka 5 zaidi zimejengwa tuna siko hapo hazijafunguliwa. What do we say about that?
In fact,
Toll.
they have been forgotten. Some of these things were just put there, erected there, and they are not operating.
So how do you put that?
Many story buildings, structures.
Not operational.
Is that a criteria or a recommendation?
For many years.
Recommendation.
Huh?
That's a recommendation.
Hii ndio recommendation iko.
I'm
So
saying,
what about the strong building? How
many
is it going to
story
help?
recommendation.
Because you are recommending one of the best things to help this thing.
Yes.
be completed.
Same. The stall project should be completed.
It becomes a recommendation.
That is.
Another one, increase staffing. Increase staffing.
And improve
Increase staffing of various
healthcare cadres.
healthcare cadres. Staffing of healthcare cadre. Spelling cadre, I think that's right.
Yeah, hivyo.
And
Improve on medical supplies.
you have a point of wire, sir. You have a point of wire.
And improve on the services.
And
That's
improve on services,
so that one will come
and improve. Okay. Now, drug supply be increased. Studio.
Not to increase, but
Regular.
improve on regular supplies of medical supplies.
Improve on medical.
Regular.
Medical supplies. Regular medical supplies.
Regular medical supply. Studio. Studio. For improve of roads and roads.
Because you had talked about roads here. Where were you talking about?
Roads.
And accessibility, the accessibility. What will be the recommendation?
We need to also, how do we recommend that?
Tarmac roads. That was how these Maram roads are useless these days. You keep on repairing, wasting money.
So what will you do with the waste money?
Tarmac roads.
That cannot happen.
Just improve on the maintenance.
Improve tarmac road network, and also Maintenance, regular maintenance.
Don't talk about something that cannot come when you are
Regular maintenance.
Regular maintenance.
Kamega bwana. Na barabara zimewekwa lami nyingi na hapa lami kwa hiyo
Hatujafikia hapo. Wacha tufanye hivi. Tutaweza.
No.
Jamaa ako tu sawa.
Just regular maintenance of
Lakini kama kuna ile the main like hii ya kutoka Abutu na Malaba, watu wanachukua.
Yeah.
Ndio sasa hizi feeders siwe maintain.
Hiyo inafaa ikuwe highway.
Hii ni highway sio unafikiria. Is that the highway?
Okay.
So that these feeders now they can be easier to
regular maintenance of roads
to maintain.
for accessibility, to improve accessibility. Improve.
Alikuwa hapa moja. Sasa
unafanya kwa health.
mtu wa health hakuna hapa.
Ndio namba ile.
Namba hii ni general, tufanye kwa moja.
Nyingine
Unless there's something, just add there.
Ni kama zimeisha.
can't think beyond.
If you have any other recommendation,
or recommendation.
Like now, you look at our ward. In fact, the funds that they give to the MCS is not utilized. Improve the life of the people, even in the health center. What do you say about it? What the location funds should be used on improving health services. What do you say like that? What fund allocation?
Yeah, that's a good one. Improve on the ward fund allocation.
Ward fund allocations. Fund
Particularly the health sector.
allocations should be also used to improve health facilities. That money they just spend on other things that are not even it. Anatumia ananunua ng'ombe. Sasa hii ng'ombe ni nini ananunua hiyo? Hata ng'ombe hawasaidii watu
Na pikipiki.
na pikipiki. Those funds that are in the world are not used well.
the people buy vehicles to ferry
I don't know if this is a point.
corpses for the mortuary.
It's a point.
Pia tuongeze public participation in the budgetary.
In fact, public participation should be intensified.
Let's wind up, please. Let's wind up.
In the budgeting.
Intensify the public participation.
Let's wind up the group discussions.
To bulldoze, to enhance. What does it help?
In public participation. Okay, saizi kama tutaacha for example to the staff kama ni hospitali wafanye budgeting, they will end up budgeting for something that is not even important.
For proper budgeting, is it?
Yeah, for budgeting purposes.
Process. Ndio.
Group number, group unaweza unaweka group
What about if you said maybe management, to improve management of those facilities?
you put the group now.
Improve management of those facilities.
Improve
Management.
improve management services. Improve services. Ndio, improve services.
And
Improve
for
management.
accountability.
I want to call the groups to a close. Thank you all for the good work. It is not complete, yes? These conversations don't end today, right? So don't feel pressured to finish everything that you had to finish. Though, I thought people from Kakamega finished very early. So I don't know if we should let them present first. Yeah? So this is how we are going to do it. Let's all come back to plenary group 7. I saw your map, it's very colorful, eh? Let's come back to plenary. Let's all come back to plenary. Thank you. So this is how we are going to do it. We are going to have presentations from the 3 counties. So we have presentation from Bungoma, from Kakamega, and then for Busia, since we're at home, we're welcoming our visitors, we'll have 1 presentation, and then the rest of the groups are going to add on to that presentation. Okay? If something you saw the first group has done that you did differently, you can tell us. If there's a criteria they did not consider that you guys thought was important, then you can tell us. Okay? So we'll start with Kakamega. Show us the map and how you...
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paul Odongo, presenting for Kakamega County. In Kakamega County, we have a nice map there.
Sorry, Paul, I have to interrupt you. Is anyone speaking while Paul is speaking? Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mokeira. We have Kakamega County there, and we have a nice map. We start with the criteria. We have blue for moderate, then green for best, red poor. Kakamega don't have poor, but we stopped at moderate. As you can see, we started Lugari, and the criteria that we opted to is 1, the quality of services. We have the sub-county hospital, they are called level 4. And then 2, we can just set the criteria for them to see. The issue of access to those services. How long do the patient take to access the service in terms of distance? Do they go more than 7 kilometers, or according to the standards, the best practice 5 kilometers? So if they go beyond 7 kilometers, then we put moderate. Now we find for Lugari, it is moderate because the access to health facilities is not that sufficient. They don't have enough in terms of distribution. They may go up to 7 kilometers to access the health facilities. Then we have Kakamega North, the same case, that is blue, it's moderate. They don't have enough health facilities, and the sick patient walk to more than 5 kilometers. Now we come to Kakamega Central. This is town. We have the level 5 county referral. We have accessibility of road network, which saves also times. We have the county general hospital, that's level 4. And we have several health facilities that save issues of time and distance. That's why it qualified to be green. We go to Mias. Mias, there is upgrading of level 4 hospital, and also the health services that are well distributed, saving the time and distance. The road network is very good. That's why they save time, and also the personnel, the issues of facility that are available in the level 4 hospital. Butere, when the governor comes, again it's green, not because of political issue, but distribution again of the health facilities, and upgrading of level 4 hospitals. And we go to Kakamega East. It is moderate. It means that the distribution of hospital again in terms of that place is not well distributed, and the patient may take time to access the health services. Then options for reducing inequalities in healthcare in your county. 1, upgrading to level 4 hospital. This has, I think, has been one of the biggest governors' manifesto, and he has done it at least some counties, yeah. And we also have come up with equality policy, or actually a policy in the health sectors in terms of access and distribution. It means that we as CSO and other stakeholders, we need also to push that when they are coming up with policy, they have to consider issues of priority and distribution of health facilities. I think that is all. Thank you so much. May I invite questions? One more question? Yeah.
There's a mic here, behind you.
Thank you very much. I think Kabeka will have problems. The question is how will you be able to achieve that level? What is the secret behind you achieving that much?
Now, it means that the governor has competent staff, and they are working also on, they have what we call the Public Participation Act. It means there's a lot of involvement and consultation on the issue of distribution of the health facilities. So it depends also on the staff and the competence and involving of key stakeholders in policy implementation or distribution of the resources. He wants to add some more point on that.
In addition, what happened is that when the governor took up his position as the governor, the first thing is that the idle health facilities that were there because of the CDF, CDF walikuja na so many projects. First thing was to equip and put staff there. This time, hata ukiangalia hapo tumeandika kwamba he made sure that all health centers, so kunatoka kwa community dispensary health center, ukienda hiyo mpaka level 4, level 5, si ndio? There is a clinical officer in everywhere, kwanza, unaona. And then all roads leading to any public institution must be well done. And then kuna stima inafuata. Asante.
Okay. Sawa. Mokera, can I take more questions?
Thank you, Kakamega. Let's have Bungoma. As the Bungoma team comes up, I just wanted to say something. As the Kakamega team was presenting, they seem to have some data. They said people walk 7 kilometers, other 5 kilometers. I'm not sure what data they were referring to and how that data helped them to map. It's just something I'm very curious about. But also, as Wambani finished, he said there are intersectoral links to access to healthcare. So he said, for example, there has to be good road access first for the facilities to be utilized by the citizen. Thank you, Kakamega. Let's have Bungoma.
Okay, this Bungoma team shall have Professor Nikuri present.
Thank you. Bungoma has 9 sub-counties. We have Mount Elgon, Kimilili, Kapchai, Sirisia, Umula, Kandui, Webuye West, Tongaren, and Webuye East. In terms of distribution, green for us means where they are highest in terms of numbers of health centers and level 2 facilities and level 1. That is Mount Elgon has 8. Level 2 and 3, sorry. Mount Elgon has 8, Kapchai has 8 in terms of level 2 and 3. Then blue, where now we have Kimilili, and we also have Sirisia. Each of them has 7, sorry, that is for the 2. There's also another blue that follows as number 3. We have Kandui, and we have Webuye West. That is again the coming to position number 4. Then the list is black, which is Webuye East, has only 4 in terms of distribution of health facilities and Tongaren. So the inequality is more in Tongaren and Webuye East. Then in terms of reasons and criteria for mapping, we said for us to be able to ensure there's equitable distribution, we must map so that we know how the distribution is all about in terms of resources and facilities. Then we're also saying by we doing this mapping, we're able to guarantee quality services for all so that nobody is left out in terms of health access. Then we also want to ensure inclusivity. So that is what allows us to do mapping based on the population and the distribution of those facilities. In terms of criteria for reducing inequality in health access, we want to see, and we have also seen, the introduction of mobile ambulance services for each of the sub-counties. In each sub-county, the county government has ensured that we have ambulances accessible for each of that count of the 9. Then we have also had 9 mobile clinics, especially in areas that are not covered by health units. So there's that mobile clinic. Then there's also a program to equip health centers and dispensaries with commodities, including drugs and other essential medical supplies. Then there's also the process of staffing, where human resources is being improved, where health professionals are being posted in those health centers and facilities. At the moment, the county is recruiting more staff for the health facilities, especially level 2 and 3. Then universal health coverage, the county has introduced NHIF as one way of ensuring those who are vulnerable groups are also covered to access more health services. So they have already started that, and then they have also begun a community health strategy where CHVs have been recruited to ensure that they are able to reach every household. Thank you. Any question for Ngoma? Go ahead.
I'm pushing on the drug supply.
Yes.
How is it that they have enough drugs in Bungoma? What are you doing to get enough drugs? How do you make sure there's enough drugs in Bungoma?
We have already signed an MOU with KEMSA, and KEMSA is the major supplier of drugs to our county. And we don't have any pending bills in Bungoma. We have seen listing of people who have pending bills as counties. Bungoma does not have a pending bill for KEMSA. We don't have. It's just in open, black and white.
And also, in addition to that, as civil society organizations, we are really pushing for health budget advocacy to address the issue of drug supply.
Then, recently, just 2 days ago, the civil society joined with the county government to do a health and sanitation bill, which is going to become law very soon. And then we're also fast-tracking on regulations and policies for the health and sanitation sector. For us, it's just not health. We have added a component of public health and environmental health, so it's health and sanitation.
Thank you very much, Ngoma team, for that. But I happen to stay, sometimes I roam around Bumula constituency, Bumula sub-county.
Yes. And
we cover distance. I don't know if you know where Buyok is.
Yes.
And Nasianda, Natuni, up to the other side. I think a red should be somewhere else to indicate that things are not all that.
So we use black instead of red, and I agree with you, Bumula and Tongarena have a challenge of more than 5 kilometers coverage. The nearest to the next is beyond 5 kilometers. So Bumula and Tongarena don't have that equitable distribution of health facilities and units.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's a hand here. Can I pick one hand?
Yes.
It's enough. Yeah. Okay, there's a controller.
Are we done? Thank you very much.
We're not done. We're just done for now.
For now.
For Bungoma, right? I know you guys have lots of questions for Bungoma and Kakamega, but because of time, we have to keep moving. And then the most pressing questions can be asked at the end. So please note those down. Now, for Busia, yeah, we have 7 children, and we have to equitably select one group to present. When I was walking around, I saw a very colorful map. All right, that's the criteria I am using. And the map that I want to be presented is group 7. But that's not to say that it's the only one that they are going to contribute to this discussion. once they present, the other groups should tell us, do they agree, do they disagree, do they have other criteria for the mapping, and we can add on to the list, okay? So let's build on Group 7's presentation. Are we all on the same page? Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Raisa Muyoma from Busia, and I'm very happy to present to you today. I'm from Group 7. So in Group 7, we were looking at the following criteria on how we're going to do the mapping. Zingine ziko mbaya. Of course, even if it is so bad, it can not be that bad. Kuna mahali kuna kitu kazuri, sivyo? So we were doing accessibility of health centers, infrastructure of health centers, and then service delivery. We were checking at the 3 criteria that help us to mark the map. So when you start here, when you're looking at Teso North, it has a lot of red. Kumaanisha hiyo ni mbaya, yani it's just bad. Accessibility ya health, mbaya. Infrastructure, worse. Service delivery, wanna try, there's something. As unaona kuna ka green, at least there is something happening there. At least kuna ka hospitali, unaona mjengo, that's what is happening in Teso North. When you come to Teso South, they're also trying. They have infrastructure, they have, si mzuri sana na si mbaya, iko tu hapo mahali, unaweza pita. And then, this other like accessibility of health center ni mbali, unapata dispensary iko like 7 or 8 kilometers and you have to walk. Hata ukipelekwa na bodaboda unafika maybe 2 kilometers, the rest you walk. So tukawapatia ka green. Matayos, as you can see, iko like red, black and green. Matayos, drugs 0. Infrastructure 0. So hapa ni maybe security ndio iko na hii green, and the black is just ile tumeonea huruma kwa sababu it is very bad for, because some of us are coming from there and you're like, hey, Matayos bana, you need to change, you need to style up. Haya, when you're coming to Samia ndio hiyo. Samia, it is far from itself, as in hata from Busia itself, Samia is very far. Accessing the centers, very far. Kila kitu Samia ni mbali, kila kitu ni mbaya, but at least wako na security kidogo, service delivery, maybe staffing, drugs is I think is a challenge in all dispensaries in Busia. Aya, ukikuja to Bunyala, you can see there's some things that are very nice, others are not. Butula, the same. So, as Group 7, we were saying that we think Busia County is at a very, 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 very bad stage in terms of health. Some of the people wait to access health. Na sasa unajua, we are feeling so bad because unaona Kakamega, they are coming and the map is so neat, iko tu na ma-blue, na ma-green. Busia, I don't think kuna group yenye Busia iko na blue. Ikama iko, then that's a lie. Because these things are even happening to our own district hospital. Drugs ni mbovu, kila kitu ni mbaya. So, recommendations as we have written here, ya kwanza ilikuwa completion and improve of stall structures. Ukienda to most of these dispensaries, unapata that kuna manyumba zimejengwa and they're just there. They've been there for 7, 6, 8. Like for example, we have a dispensary called Segelo. I think it's just south or something.
Segelo.
Yeah, Segelo, that one. It has been there, I think sijui iendelee ama nini. Ukienda place kama we have Bukalama. Iko tu, hata barabara tu kuingia Bukalama, it's a problem. Ukifika Bukalama, even ukiangalia kuna nyumba imeanza sijui ya sister, sijui ya nani, it has never ended. So, that one is our first recommendation. Those structures should be completed and improved. Secondly, drug supply should be improved and it should be variety. Most of this dispensary, wanaleteanga tu AL tu na Panadol, I think. So when you go there and you have some other kind of disease, you just go, unatafuta mahali pa kwenda kutibiwa because they cannot help you. Secondly, the facilities should be friendly to people living with disabilities. For example, inafaa ikuwe na RAM, ikuwe na not necessarily. Kuna watu wengine watumie RAM but wanaweza tumia something else that can assist them kufika kwa dispensary. And then each dispensary should at least have a lab equipment and lab technician. Most of the dispensaries in Busia County ziko tu na lab. Ziko na lab ndio, but lab iko na ile kakitu kwa kupima malaria only. So if you go there for typhoid and what, utaka kujipanga kwa sababu they don't have a lab. Okay, even if it is there, hawana lab technician, hakuna kitu itakusaidia. So hiyo pia mnafaa muangalie. And then roads should be improved and made accessible. The roads to these places should be accessible. At least ukiangalia road ya kwenda district iko sawa. But ukiingia huku ndani huko mashinani, people are going through hell to go to the hospital. Haya. Water and sanitation should be prioritized. Most of these dispensaries zinanga maji. I think it's somewhere in Teso South. Mtu anakaa hospitali 2 days and you've given birth and you cannot even take a shower because hakuna maji. And there's nothing you can do about it. So una have to kuvumilia kama mtu wa Busia. Haya. Hygiene should be top priority. Hygiene inakuwa ni to those who are serving. Kama for example nurse, sister, nani. Hao wenyewe wanafaa kuwa wasafi. Ndio you as a person unataka uko mgonjwa ukienda pale you're able to unafurahia huko, si ati unafika huko ndio unaongezewa ugonjwa. Sawa? Electricity should be available to all dispensaries. I think electricity is a problem like cutting cross everywhere or in Busia. That's why unapata hatuna hizo lab, hatuna drugs, kwa sababu kama hamna electricity, mtapewa data de watatendas, how will you store it? Unaona? If you don't have electricity, how are you going to say that the security of that area is safe? It is not safe. So electricity pia inafaa ikuwe kitu paramount and it's something that the people concerned should check into. And then, okay, I'm reading the ones that I've not written here. And then we have involvement of the dispensary management with county projects. I'm sure we have some people who have been chosen to manage some of the dispensaries around Busia. And I'm sure there are things happen there and they are not aware. It's not because it's awkward, because sababu hawakuambiwa, which is very bad. As much as you should, I think the government should know that Kilomeshawa appoint as management of different dispensaries. They should also ensure that when we are involved in those projects that they decide to do. Hata kama mtakuwa mmeamua kujenga choo, ambieni manager wa dispensary tunataka kujenga hapa choo. Mko mshamwambia hiyo ni sawa. Mkitaka mjenga ya 5 million, ya 1 million, hiyo sasa itakuwa ni yenu. I have finished. Any questions?
Mokena will lead us there.
Before we get the questions, do you guys now agree we chose well Group 7? First of all, Group Kakamega and Bungoma do not have any ladies. But Group 7 decided the ladies of substance will come and really do a good presentation. Can we give them a round of applause? Well done. Okay, so she was very exhaustive in her presentation. This is how we are going to do it. Okay. And let me just be clear about the criteria of choice for Group 7. I don't know if there's any other group that decided sub-county is too large for mapping. We have to go down to the ward or area level. That's why we chose them. They decided even if sub-county is doing well, there are still areas within the sub-county, even places where they are green, that you can find black and you can find red. Did you guys notice that? Yeah. So I want to applaud Group 7 for their good job. And now let's get from the other groups. Is there a criteria you used that Group 7 did not use? That's the first question. In your mapping, is there a criteria for, because this is their criteria, so they were looking at, they even added their own number for access of health centers, infrastructure of the health centers, service delivery, which includes drugs, staffing, water, electricity, and security. I don't know if you see the flow. It's first whether there's a facility, whether that facility is actually working, and whether it's being maintained. You know, things like security. Do you see? So does anyone have, from the groups that we had, is there another criteria you used to map that they did not use? That's the first question. Kuna ingine?
Hey.
Yes, sir. Can we have a mic to Ashika, please?
Yeah, in our group we have a criteria, access to information. Access to information is a criteria that we have some areas where people are green on issues to do with the, they don't have information. They don't know kwamba even the facilities there, what's there. So that's also, we have some sub-counties that people are at least, kama kuna mkutano, people will attend and get, lakini we have some communities that they don't even know even what's happening within their environment. So it's also a factor that we use in our group.
Thank you, Washika. And Washika is a budget champion as well as a civic educator, so he knows the value of an empowered citizenry. And we did see that in the Vox Pops earlier, that people are saying, kunaweza kuwa na service, lakini hata mtu ajui. Kwa hivyo hawezi itumia. Si ni kweli? So access to information is also a criteria of inequality. Does anyone have a different one? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Accessing facilities was another challenge in most of the wards and especially in the sub-counties of the county. Some roads are so quite pathetic. Right now to reach their facility, people even die from the road. So roads should be improved. And it should be tarmacked roads because they are wasting money for maintaining roads every year and every year in and out. Why are other counties having tarmacked roads? Network is very high. Busia is too poor, it's very low. Another issue is the kit for the wards. It's just used on other things. Should be spent on also on the health to improve the health of the people, health of the facility. They are given a kit that's not poorly spent. If somebody just buying great cows year in year out and even doesn't really assess how they valuable for the people of that area. Another issue is about intensifying public participation. It's quite poor because we only hear of it. But if the committee would have the right priority.
Okay, I may need to stop you there because I feel like that last one was almost.
No, that's what it is. Tendering.
Okay.
People who want tenders to do construction in the dispensaries. The committee is not involved. They come and pin some facilities there. They construct. They don't know how much they are given. They say the money funds are over. So there are many storage buildings in our counties, in our county, and in fact they are built by the CDF. The county government has not even completed those things there. I don't know what the government is doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll take a lady of substance behind there, but just to reflect a little on. Let her speak first. I just want to speak on what he was saying. That very last point. It's that inequalities are also experienced at the stage of implementing of the budget. So how we actually use resources to the point of accessing services matters. Because the access to service, we don't mean a structure. We mean that the people can go there and get treated, isn't it? And we have some experts in the room. Feel free to guide us in this discussion. You can tell us, beyond looking at facilities, what else should we be looking at the people of Busia, Kakamega, and Bungoma? When we are thinking of distributing resources, what else should we be looking at? Something else that he's talked about is the ward, what do we call it here in Busia? The ward development, not the development fund, but ward-based budget, right? That it should also be considerate for the health sector, right? Good, thank you, sir. Let's hear from her.
Yeah, just an addition. Options for reducing inequalities in our county. We talked about there should be proper systems of monitoring and evaluation.
Fine. Let's now move to options. Yeah. If anyone who has another criteria, it's fine. We'll pick up the flip chart and we'll record this. But let's now look at the options. It's okay.
we've talked about there should be proper systems of monitoring and evaluation. We've also talked about that corruption should be avoided. This is whereby things should be put right. The budget should be given so that people look at it and say, this is what we've allocated for health sector for the drugs to be purchased, and it is clear. We've also talked about that there should be increase of resource allocation and resource mobilization. Then lastly, we've said that public participation to be put, because most of our citizens do not have the knowledge. Actually, during issues of budget, example, during putting things like CIDP, ADP, our communities are not involved. They only come to realize that a meeting was made, a forum was made, people signed, and they ate bread and soda and they went, but they even don't know what they were talking about. So there is need for public participation, and I think civic and CDC has done it, has tried to, for the wards that have been, the 21 wards of Busia County, we've given civic educators to enlighten the communities, but because it was only a 2-year, people have not, the entire county have not gotten the information. So it is again should be put so that people are informed and know what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. And I think issues of public participation are really coming a lot on how we can reduce inequalities. The Office of the Governor earlier mentioned that they are trying to revamp the civic education in Busia, and that there's a public participation bill. I think we should all be involved in that process to ensure that whatever is passed is what is going to work for the people in Busia. Yes. Now, we are only taking options for reducing inequalities in your county, okay? Yes. And I will not take second time presenters. It's okay, we will have the flip chart and record it. If you haven't spoken, we'll give you a first priority, okay? You have options as well? Okay, go ahead.
My name is Brian Opemi. Mine is just on budget, more so on educating the public on understanding what the budget has an impact in terms of health. Because when the public is called, because we have a public participation maybe bill, it will be passed to an act, then it will come to us. So the public comes to participate, but they don't understand the effect or the importance of making that suggestion through public participation. Like, we need this facility to be operationalized. But when they come, they have different priorities. They need water. So which means it's different from the facility. Although they see the facility that they don't receive any services from it, but they don't put allocation to the facility itself. So they should also understand the importance of participating in budget and the effect of the budget itself, the document. Now, in terms of implementation, we also need the public to understand the procedures and to have monitoring, to help the assembly in terms of monitoring. So they should also know how to monitor. And in terms of monitoring, now they need also to understand the various documents. We have the implementation reports. The accessibility of these reports is not accessible in Busia County. In terms of their website, you don't need to, even if you go to their website today, you will not even find the current CIDP in there, or even the implementation of the current the first quarter, it's not there. So which means you cannot fast track the projects. And the issue of pending bills and the rollovers, they are really affecting us. We have the rollovers, for example, in my ward, we have rollovers in various facilities. But it comes a time when the rollovers now, they are not there, and there's no any pending bill, and the facility was not even constructed. So which means the public is not able to fast track. You propose, it's not implemented, so next time you cannot even propose again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think he just is emphasizing on some points, and especially on access to information. I don't work in Busia County, but their CIDP is online. Go and look at it. Yeah. But for the other implementation reports, it's not just also about having the reports, but like you said, can people use that information? Is it presented in a way that Mwananchi can say, okay, it's the first quarter has ended. What was supposed to be given to this dispensary? Has it been done? You understand? So it's also about the usability of that information apart from accessing. Good. I'll take one last one from Busia.
Yes.
If you have a very good option to reduce inequalities, please raise your hand. A very good one, okay, which we shall give the county government.
Yes.
Right? Okay. My goodness, you all have very good ones. Which group hasn't spoken?
Group 2. Number 2.
Group 2 hasn't spoken. And group
5.
Group 5. Okay. Group 6, I can hear you. Who's speaking for group 6? I'll have that lady for group 6 and group
Number
2.
Yes.
The gentleman here. Okay, let's move first. I'll come to you, group 5. I've not forgotten you.
Oh, thank you very much. The public participation bill has a small committee which includes the CSOs, and Frank Namuji is one of the members, the county assembly, and the executive. So it's in the process. That's not a problem now. But we have to push our MCAs to ensure they are enacted. Number 2, we have 2 sectors in the health sector. We have the
I hope that's your last one, just 2. Yeah? And then we can go to 1 from that side. Okay?
the preventive medical care. We are supposed, as a county, to be supporting the community health volunteers. These people need to get their right remuneration. And that has to be taken as a strong point. During the budgeting time we mentioned, and they have not been paid for a long time. I hope Dr. Mary, if Dr. Mary was here, could have said something. Lastly, let the county government, the health sector, look at what the CDF handed over to the county government.
Good.
Most of them are asleep, and they need to be awakened.
Yeah, so we had said that point, but it's good that we emphasize that we just don't have money sitting. Let's have the lady from the back. We are now going to a short presentation from CRA. Yes, we have the Commission on Revenue Allocation in the room, and they are just going to do a bit of reflection on this. And also, we have people who know more about the health sector. So, for example, they can be able to tell us, when we are trying to reduce inequalities, do we focus on primary health care? Do we focus on preventive health care? Do we focus on level 4, like Kakamega said? What is the best way to ensure that those who can access health services can access them? Because we can't provide everything to the same measure to everyone now. But as we work towards that, how do we reduce inequalities in the most efficient and fair way? Good. Ni sawa kabisa.
Nawashukuru kwa kunipatia hii nafasi. Tunahimiza wamama waende wazae kwa hospitali. Na kule mimi natoka hakuna hata room ya maternity. Hawa mama wataenda kuzaa aje hospitali? Hakuna maji ya huyu mama kuoga. Ya pili, casual workers. Unapata mtu watchman ameacha bibi halalangi kwa nyumba usiku. Anaongoja dispensary ambapo watu wanaenda kutibiwa. Kuna vitu vya hospitali za maana hapo. Anakaa miezi 18 hajalipwa. Huyu CHV anawacha watoto wake wanahangaika njaa, hajalipwa miaka 2. Surely the county government mnatupeleka wapi? Alafu unapata hawa vijana wanapata magonjwa yetu hizi ndogo za kuuma uzi. Alafu wakienda kule hospitalini, unasikia nasa anaambia wewe mtu wa gonorrhea, hebu ingia hapa haraka. Hakuna friendly services kwa youth. Sasa tunaomba mfunze hawa nurses vile wana organize themselves, they stay up. Waongee na hawa youth hata kama tupata gonorrhea, wajue vile wana handle. Asanteni.
Thank you so much. We are going to close here, sir. You have had a chance to speak. We are going to close here and invite CRA to speak. I had mentioned earlier, what data are we using to map these inequalities? Have we been able to say, for example, the 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers? What data do we have? And so then Rugo is going to invite CRA And thank you, Group 7. Well done. Well done.
And we appreciate them. I hope by now you know that when we say about those who have worked with us at IBP know that we take public engagement very seriously. And that's why we've given a lot of time, as you will notice in the rest of the program. That's the session we have given the most time. The rest will be rushed a bit because we also see Pia Masayati and Anza Songa. So thank you very much. And all the discussions that were done in the different groups have not gone to a loss because they were recorded, and we'll be asking you to also come in. Now, somebody to help find the presentation and the projector. You may go back to where you had sat before, or you could just sit where you are. If you have your notebook there. I'm just waiting briefly for this to be set up so that we are good to flow. Might we need to raise it a bit more to increase it? The back side. The technicians know how to do it. Of us, the Commission on Revenue Allocation has been at the forefront from the start. It is the one institution that we as the people of Kenya here, we gave the mandate to be able to guide us, to inform us, to advise us independently on how we should distribute resources. And today, what we didn't say at the very beginning is that Commission on Revenue Allocation is deeply involved in the Equity Week conversation. And therefore, the CEO, Mr. George Oko, was actually around, but was called back to Nairobi on a call of duty that needed him there. And therefore, our colleague Kezia, I call him our colleagues because we really work very closely together. Kezia Njeri is here. She's going to make the presentation. So for all the questions that we could not answer, so Kezia is here. And therefore, let's welcome her. She's a senior analyst with the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and she will say more about the work they do and make the presentation too. Please put our hands together and welcome her.
So, good afternoon. So, well, as they work on the presentation, that was very interesting. You'll agree with me, right? Yeah, we've seen how different counties are performing in terms of their health indicators. So my presentation basically then is to give feedback on the inequalities that you showed to us. So I'm going to use data, and my data is going to explain if those places that you have said don't have health facilities are actually true. Is it true that actually they don't have health facilities based on the data that is available? So the next one. The next one. So before I start, I want to say that matters of equal equity are in the 2010 Constitution. The 2010 Constitution so I was saying, the 2010 Constitution provides for equitable development everywhere in the country. So you'll note that the 2010 Constitution provided for 2 levels of government, the national and the 47 county governments, such that resources are not only held at the center, which was the national government. That happened for the last 50 years. So now resources can now go to where the wananchi are in the counties, and the wananchi are also involved in deciding how are those resources going to be spent. And someone said that there's a problem with public participation, so I think that needs to be worked on so that the wananchi can decide, we want a dispensary here and not a road. We want a school here, an ECD center and not a dam. So much authority, much freedom has been given to you, the public, by the 2010 Constitution. And I also want to say that the Constitution also established what we call commissions and independent offices. One of those commissions is where I am, the CRA, the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Those commissions were established to foster equity and also accountability in government. And some of them also work as watchdogs for the government. For instance, I know you're all aware about the Office of the Auditor General, which will point out in case there is a misuse of resources in the counties or in the national government, then they're able to point out where the problem is. So I want to go to our mandate. Maybe we can, I want to go to the mandate of the Commission. So the Commission on Revenue Allocation is mandated to share revenues. We share revenues, so the national government collects taxes, right? You pay taxes. You pay taxes from your salary for those ones who are employed. You pay taxes when you buy goods from the supermarket, sugar, you pay VAT on those goods. And probably when you buy fuel, all that has tax in it. So the national government collects taxes through the Kenya Revenue Authority. So the work of the Commission, therefore, is to share that revenue. That revenue is collected in one pool by the Kenya Revenue Authority. So one of our mandates, therefore, as the Commission, is to share that revenue. We first share that revenue between the national government and the county government. That is what we call the vertical share of revenue. Second, we also share revenue among all the 47 county governments. That is what we call the horizontal share of revenue. One thing that we do is that we also publish and we also review a policy that the government uses to share a fund that we call the Equalization Fund. I will explain about the Equalization Fund. The Equalization Fund was a fund that was set up by the government for those counties that had been marginalized for the last 50 years. Yeah, there are some counties that didn't have roads, right? There are some counties that didn't have electricity. So the Equalization Fund helps those counties to bring them to the same level of development as those other counties that were enjoying that development before devolution. So those are our three main core work. And if I can start with the share of revenue between the national and the county, which I call the vertical share of revenue. So we make our recommendation annually. We share revenue between the national government and the county government every year. We're just doing that right now. We need to submit it to Parliament before the end of the year, that is before December. So when we do that, we take into account equity. And how do we do that? We take into account Article 203D of the Constitution that says that the revenue that counties will get, it's revenue that should help them perform the functions that were transferred to them by the Constitution. So when we share that revenue, we make sure that counties have adequate revenues to help them perform the devolved functions, yeah, that were given to them under the Constitution. And since devolution in 2013-2014, we shared to the counties 190 billion, and that has been growing. And in this financial year, 2019-2020, we have shared with the counties 317 billion. So this is money that is to be distributed across all the counties, not equally based on a certain criteria, because like we said, equity is not equality, right? All counties don't have to get the same amount of resources. It varies based on their poverty, based on their population, or based on their land area. Then if I can talk about the sharing of revenue now among the county governments, which we call the horizontal share of revenue. So the horizontal share of revenue constitutes the largest share of revenue that counties receive from the national government. Yeah, so other sources of revenue that counties get are that counties collect their own revenue. They charge fees, market fees, they charge parking fees. So those are other sources of revenues that county can collect to increase their pool of revenue. And counties also get conditional grants from the national government. Conditional grants are given in such areas as health. For instance, Kakamega gets a conditional grant on account of them having a level 5 health facility. So they get that so as to improve the health facilities of that level 5, because the level 5 does not only receive patients from Kakamega, it also receives patients probably as far as Vihiga, Siaya, Busia, and Bungoma. So when the commission shares revenue among all the county governments, we use a formula. It has a formula. So that formula, it's objective, it is a quantitative criteria that we use, and it has certain parameters. So by use of that formula, then we're able to know Kakamega will get this share, Busia, for example, will get this share, because it has certain indicators that we use. And we are now doing the third formula. That formula was submitted to Senate in April. So once we do the formula, we then submit it to Senate. Senate are the ones who approve that formula. So we have done a first formula, a second formula, and we've now done the third formula, which is with the Senate. So the first formula, it was approved in the year 2012, and it shared revenue for This is what I was talking about, the formula. I was talking about the first formula, which was approved in 2012. And it shared revenue from 2013-14 up to 2016-2017. Then the second formula was approved in 2016, and it shared revenue for 3 years, 17-18, and it's also sharing revenue for this year. So I talked about the third basis, which we have submitted to the Senate, hoping for the Senate to approve it. Once it's approved, it will be used to share revenue from the next financial year. That is financial year 2020-2021. We can go to the next slide. I talked about using a formula. In that formula, we have parameters that we use. So the first formula, we used 5 parameters. We used population. There was a basic equal share. Basic equal share allocates 25% of the total county revenue equally. Then we use poverty, land area, and a fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility, we want to encourage counties to be more prudent in how they use their resources. So if counties do not use their resources well, they are penalized, and they will not get a share of the 2%. If they use their resources well, then they will get a share of the 2%. So population was allocated 45% in the first and in the second basis. That means counties with a higher population would get a higher share. For instance, Kakamega would get a higher share than all the counties that are represented here, since it has the highest population. Poverty, meaning that if a county has a very high poverty level, then it would get a higher share, because they need that money to promote balanced development in their counties so that poverty can come down. Land area, if a county has a very big land area, we use land area because we do realize that a county needs more resources to reach where people are. Take the case of Marsabit, or take the case of Turkana with the highest land area, and people are distributed all over that land area. So we say that the governor or the county needs to reach where those people are. So they need an extra share to be able to reach those people on virtue of a big land area. We can get to the next slide. So the third basis, on the other hand, changed slightly. It didn't use the parameters that we used. What we did in the third basis is that we tried to map the county functions with the resources that counties would get. So the resources that were transferred to the counties were meant to promote service, to enhance service delivery, to promote balanced development, to enhance the counties to raise more revenue, and to help them to use their resources prudently. So based on these objectives, we mapped the functions of the counties to these objectives. For instance, in enhancing service delivery, we came up with 6 parameters. We came up with health, agriculture, other county services, urban services, and a basic equal share, which is equal. Under health, we allocated it a weight of 17%. That is the total share going to the county, 17% would go towards health. What that means is that counties will get a higher allocation towards health, because we do realize that counties have very many health service requirements, and health is a fully devolved function. So counties have a lot of work to do respecting health. So that's why we gave it a high weight of 17%. Agriculture is also a devolved function. It's devolved to the county, so we gave it a weight of 10%. Counties are responsible for promoting, what is it called, extension services among farmers. So this 10%, therefore, we thought that it would help counties to be able to promote extension of agriculture services in the respective counties. Under balanced development, we gave land area 8% and roads. We do realize that counties have many needs with respect to roads. You yourself said that most places we don't have roads, so you need the roads to be able to access the services. So 4% of the total county share would then go to roads, and we gave poverty 14%. Poverty is still a major issue in the country. The country average is around maybe 36%. So we thought giving 14% would help most counties bring down their poverty level. Then we gave 2% to counties. If you increase your revenue collection, then you are given 2% of the total county share. And if you use your resources well, then you'd get 2%. Yeah, so, sorry. This slide just shows the total allocation that has gone to the county since devolution up to 2018-2019. So from 2013, the yellow is the equitable share, the transfer from the national government to the county governments. The green, this green in the middle, is what counties raise, while the top one is the conditional grant. The conditional grants are transferred from the national government to the counties. So we know that counties rely heavily on the equitable share. And it is okay because most of these functions that counties are performing were previously being performed by the national government. So this equitable share, therefore, will help counties to be able to perform the functions that were previously performed by the national government. Then the counties also collect their own revenue, not so much. We are encouraging counties to increase this revenue, because once they increase this revenue, it goes back to that county to increase the service delivery or to promote balanced development in that county. So the more counties are able to collect their own revenue, then the more money they also get to perform other services and also promote development in their country. The conditional grants it's a grant from the national government. It may not be provided to all the counties because there's a condition. For instance, for those counties that have level 5 facilities, they all get a conditional grant on health to be able to improve the level of service delivery in those counties. Next slide. So here I show the allocation to the counties represented here, Kakamega, Bungoma, Siaya, and Busia. And like I said, the equitable share is never equal. It is equitable because we use certain parameters to promote that equitability. Therefore, it can never be equal. Kakamega cannot receive the same share as Bungoma. Like I said, the population in Kakamega is very high, and so they need more resources to be able to serve those people in Kakamega. So Kakamega, for instance, so the green one is 2013-2014, and the yellow one is 2019-2020. So you can see that the share has also been growing. It's also been growing because the cost of living has also been changing. You cannot say that the cost of living in 2013-14 is the same as the cost of living today. It has drastically changed. So counties therefore need more resources to be able to offer similar level of service that they probably offered in 2013-14. They should offer similar or even better level of services in 2019-2020. Next slide. Here I show how do counties spend that money. The money that we've just seen that the counties have received. So how do they spend it? I look at two sectors. I look at agriculture and health. So this is for agriculture. Why am I looking at agriculture and health and not other sectors? The reason is because agriculture and health are the most devolved functions in the counties. Counties perform more functions in these two areas as opposed to what the national government does. So here, I find that, so the green one is 14-15. Unfortunately, we didn't have data when devolution started in 13-14, so that's why we started with 14-15. And then the, I think, orange is 2018-2019. So we can see that some counties have almost maintained, this is in percentage. So the 9%, for instance, for Bungoma in 14-15 is 9% of the total expenditure. So 9% of the total expenditure, they allocated to agriculture in 2014-2015. However, we can see that dropped to 7%. While other counties, Busia and Siaya, have maintained the same level of expenditure in agriculture, we also find another drop in Kakamega. So maybe this is very important for the county governments in the two areas, why the expenditure levels drop. I don't know if the citizens are still getting the same level of service, or probably the service levels have also deteriorated, probably with declining expenditure. So that's a question that you need probably to take ahead to your respective county governments. The next slide, I show the expenditure in health. So they're the same years. The green is 14-15, and the orange is 2018-2019. So like I said, health, this is the expenditure as a percentage of the total expenditure in that county. So in Bungoma, they allocated 23%, 14-15 and 18-19. Both years, they allocated the same amount of expenditure towards health services. Busia and I think Kakamega declined, and there was a sharp decline in the case of Kakamega. So the gentleman who presented the mapping for Kakamega said that everything is okay in Kakamega. So I don't know, if you say everything is okay, maybe that's why your budget for health came down, probably, I don't know. Yeah, so if you can go to the next slide. So the next slide shows per person allocation. How much, assuming a county gets their share, and they decide to distribute it to each person in that county, how much would each person get? So I compare, here I had data for 13-14 and 18-19. The green is 13-14, the yellow is 18-19. So Kakamega would get, each person would get 6,221 shillings if the county decided to distribute that money equally to every person. Well, Busia, they would get 8,000. Maybe the difference between Kakamega and Busia, again, is in the population. Kakamega has a high population. That means they're distributing their resources among many people, as opposed to probably counties like Busia and probably Bungoma. Kakamega and Bungoma both have very high population, so that is understandable. So the next section, when I started, I said that the commission has 3 main mandates. So the first one was to share revenue between the national and the county government. I called it the vertical share. And the next one was to share revenues among the county governments, which I was explaining, and I called it the horizontal share. Now the third mandate of the commission, we also developed a policy to share a fund known as the equalization fund. At the outset, I said that the equalization fund was a fund established to bring those counties that had been marginalized for a very long time, before devolution, for about 50 years. Those counties were lagging behind in many areas. They didn't have water, they didn't have roads, the poverty levels were very high. So the equalization fund, therefore, would help those counties to come at the same level of development as those other counties that were doing well. Let's say, I don't want to be quoted, maybe the Mount Kenya counties. So the equalization fund would help the counties probably that were in the northern Kenya to bring them to the same level of development as those other counties that were not marginalized. So article, it's not 2014, it's 2041, is the one that establishes the equalization fund. This fund became operational right after devolution in 2011 and 2012. And this fund, it consists of 0.5% of the audited accounts of government revenue. So 0.5 of all government revenue which is audited goes towards the equalization fund. So Article 204(2) of the Constitution says that that fund should fund these key priority sectors: roads, water, health, and electricity. And like I've mentioned, it is meant for the marginalized areas. The purpose is to bring them to the same service level to the rest of the nation so that they are not left behind. In the equity principle, we say that you do not leave anyone behind, right? So you are just and you are fair in allocating resources. So the Equalization Fund is a fair fund meant to bring everybody to the same level of development. And I said that the role of CRA is to publish a policy that identifies which are those areas that need this fund, because it's not allocated to every county in the country. So the Commission has developed 2 policies. There was the first policy that was developed in 2013, and there was a second policy that was developed in 2017. So this fund, the Constitution says that the duration of the fund will be for 20 years. That within the 20 years, those counties that were left behind, it is hoped that they will be at the same level of development with the rest of the country. However, Parliament has ability to extend that period if probably by the end of the 20 years, those counties will not be at the same level of development as the rest of the country. Next slide. So these charts, I show how much has been allocated to that fund, and this is in Kenya shillings billion, since that fund was established in 2011-2012. In 2011-2012, 2.34 billion was allocated to that fund. And in 2020-2021, this is a projection, this may change, 5.7 billion has been allocated to that fund. So these are in red, and also those are in red, show that these are projections. And then those ones, this money was not used because the Commission had not developed the policy identifying counties where that money would be used. So the fund started being used in 2014, 2015, and it's still being used up to 2018, 2019. Next slide. The Commission has developed the second policy on marginalization. If I can talk first about the first policy. So I said the first policy was developed in 2013. It identified some 23 counties that were marginalized. So it identified the entire county. But the second policy changed from identifying a county to a sublocation. A county may be marginalized, but we need to know where are the people who are marginalized, where are the people who lack, say, water, where are the people who lack electricity. So we went down to the lower unit, which is the sublocation. So, and through this, we said that then service delivery would then go to the lower level, which is the Mwananchi level. And we used these criteria to identify the sublocations that were marginalized. We used access to safe drinking water. Those sublocations that didn't have access to safe drinking water, they didn't have improved sanitation, they didn't have electricity, their primary school attendance and secondary school attendance rates were low, then those sublocations were considered marginalized. And out of that, next slide. Out of that, we came with 1,424 sublocations in the entire country that were identified as marginalized. These 1,424 sublocations have a population of about 5.6 million, and these are in 34 counties, 107 constituencies, and 374 wards. Within this region, these sublocations were only found in Busia, Bungoma, and Siaya. We didn't have any of these sublocations in the county of Kakamega. The next slide, I want to show you which are these sublocations that were identified as marginalized in Bungoma, Busia, and Siaya. If you look at this screen, maybe you can be able, the ones in red are the sublocations that were identified as marginalized. They didn't have access to safe drinking water, they didn't have roads, their primary school attendance rates and secondary school attendance rates were very low. In Bungoma, we have 9, Forest, Sambocho, Kaimagul, Koshok, Kubura, Sacho, Chapiu, Kapkurongo, and Chongeyo. Now, the 10th one, Kamunero, was not identified as marginalized. However, the level of service provision in this sublocation is still low. Only that it didn't meet the criterion that we were looking for. But the level of service delivery is still low in that sublocation. In Busia, we had the 3, but the remaining 7, the level of service provision is still a bit low, but the 3 are the most critical. They don't have the basic services. In Kakamega, we didn't have any. However, we identified these 10. The level of their service delivery and also the level of development are still low. Siaya, we identified those 5, the ones in red. So you as the citizens, when you go to your public participation forums, you can point at these areas as the areas probably needing critical attention in terms of access to water, roads. They're the areas where probably children do not go to school, or if they go, then probably they do not proceed to high school. Same case with maybe Kakamega. Even if they were not identified in the second policy, they still need critical work to be done on them to promote balanced development and also to enhance service delivery. Next slide. I'll mention them to you. Yes. In the next slide, then I will show how deprived each of these counties is in certain areas in health. In health, I look at the facilities, I will look at the immunization, and I will look at deliveries by a skilled birth attendant. Maybe this is important based on the work that you did, then maybe this will help to show if it reflects a true picture of what you did. So in health facilities gap, what I mean by health facilities gap is the lack of a health facility. The lack of a health facility, I'm looking at level 2, level 3, and level 4. Level 2 is in green, level 3 in orange, and level 4 in gray. Level 2 is a dispensary, level 3 is a health center, and level 4 is like a sub-county hospital. So in Bungoma, so how do we establish to know that you don't have the facilities? So the Ministry of Health have certain standards that they say for a given level of a population, we need a dispensary or a health center or a referral hospital to be established. For instance, according to the Ministry of Health, for a population of 10,000 people, we need a dispensary. For a population of 30,000 people, a health center needs to be established. For a population of 100,000 people, we need a sub-county, which is a district hospital. For a population of 1 million, we need a level 5, and for a population of 5 million, we need a tertiary referral hospital. So those are the norms that we used. Within a population of 10,000 people, do we have a dispensary? So based on that, we noted that Bungoma requires 9 dispensaries. Bungoma requires 9 dispensaries, 29 health centers, and 6 sub-county hospitals. Busia requires 16 health centers and 1 sub-county hospital, while Kakamega requires 3 health centers and 6 sub-county hospitals. Siaya has no gap. In any case, it has an excess. The app one shows that it has 41 more dispensaries. So there are so many. It has 16 more health centers, and it has 1 more sub-county hospital. Same case with Kakamega. It has an excess of dispensaries, and Busia has an excess of 10 dispensaries. So again, you as the citizens, as the community leaders from this, when you prioritize, when you attend meetings that are seeking to decide what do we need in this sub-location, this is very helpful for you. Yeah, instead of setting up a road, maybe we need a dispensary in the case of Bungoma, or a health center. The next slide, I look at the maternal mortality rate. So the maternal mortality rate facility-based, what I mean are the mothers who die in a health facility. So this does not take into account mothers who die at home or mothers who die elsewhere. It only takes into account mothers who die at a health facility, say a dispensary, a health center, or a sub-district hospital. So the Kenyan average is 165 maternal deaths per 100,000 of the population. That is the Kenyan national average. So from this, we can see that Siaya, Kakamega, has the highest maternal mortality rate, much higher than the Kenyan average of 165. Siaya, 198 maternal deaths per 100,000 of the population, which is much higher than the Kenyan average of 165. Busia and Bungoma seem to be performing well in that indicator. Next. This slide, I show the percentage of the immunization coverage. That is the percentage of children who are fully immunized. And I would like to congratulate all of you in all the counties. You seem to be performing very well. You are above 50% threshold. Busia, the highest at 80.4%, while Kakamega, the lowest at 73.1%. Still, you can still pull up your socks to probably 100%, such that every child is fully immunized in your counties. The next slide, I show the percentage deliveries by a skilled attendant. How many, this is percent, so it's out of 100. How many women get proper care during delivery? So Siaya again is performing very well at 70.4% and Bungoma 41.4%, which is very, very low. Now this then will be connected to the maternal mortality rate, in the sense that if a mother doesn't have a skilled person to help her deliver, then she has higher chances of experiencing maternal mortality rate. And if we can go to the previous slide, and I want you to take the case of Kakamega, 48.6%, previous. Yeah. Previous. Yeah, this one. No, sorry. Next. Yeah, so I was talking about Kakamega. The maternal mortality rate for Kakamega is 184, which is higher than the Kenyan average of 165. And that's the county that we find 48.4%. Only 48.4% of mothers get help delivering by a skilled health attendant. Next. Yeah, so the next area I looked at was access to electricity by households. What is the main source of lighting that households use? So the light green is electricity, and the darker green is paraffin. So we noticed that, I think in all the counties, most households use paraffin as the main source of lighting. I don't know, maybe this may have changed. I used this data from the 2015-2016 Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data. It may have changed because prior to 2017, there was the last mile connectivity, electricity connectivity. So probably the electricity connectivity probably may have gone up. But usage of paraffin, as we know, has been connected with various health risks. Probably if a kid is using a tin lamp to do their homework, it has effects on the eyesight. So clean energy is always recommended. So this is also another area probably that you can take it up as you discuss areas of development in your county. The last area I looked at was school attendance, primary and secondary school attendance rate. All counties have very good primary school attendance rates. All counties have above 80% primary school attendance rate. The problem is the secondary school attendance rates, which is so low in Busia, 23% of kids regularly attend school. That is so low. So I don't know where the kids are. They could be working. They could be tending to farms or cross-border trade, I am told. So this is also another area to look at, the secondary school attendance rates. When you go to public participation meetings, when you are called probably by NGOs to give your views on what development need to be taken in your counties, you may take that up. Next. In this is, well, I think that slide. So I look at the 3 counties that had sublocations that were marginalized. How much funding will they get? So we saw that Siaya has 5 sublocations that were marginalized, and they will get 37 million. Busia had 3 sublocations, they'll get 21 million. Bungoma has 4, and they'll get 69 million. Next. So having looked at all that data and all that information, So what focus areas should the counties focus on, concentrate on? One, there's need for adequate budgetary allocation in the provision of health services. We noted that some counties, such as Kakamega, has reduced their health expenditure. I don't know why. They have reduced their health expenditure, but we saw that the maternal mortality rates are very high, and also the deliveries by skilled attendants are very low. So there's need maybe to look at that, and also increase the budgetary allocation to agriculture. There was also a decline in the expenditure by some counties in agriculture. So health and agriculture are very, very critical, because these areas are fully devolved, and these areas have a big impact if the county allocates adequate funds. They have a big impact in terms of enhancing service delivery and promoting the development of the counties. Then we also noted that there's need for collaboration between the two levels of government. The sublocations that were identified as marginalized, there's need for collaboration between the county and the national government. When the county is doing their development programs, they may focus on that areas. Although the equalization fund is from the national government, counties are not restrained on doing development in those sublocations. So it would be good also for the county to help those marginalized sublocations. Then as I wind up, I want to talk about the challenges that are faced in realizing equity. One, we note that there is skewed prioritization of development programs within counties. That is low concentration in terms of allocating adequate money towards development programs. And I noted that most of you are complaining about roads or about lack of health facilities. Yeah? So there is probably little budget allocated to development programs. The Constitution, there is an act that is called the Public Finance Management Act that says that at least 30% of the total county budget should be spent on development. But most counties spend 20%, 10%, or even none in some cases. So there's need for action in that area. Then we noted that there is a disconnect between what is probably in the CIDP, what is in the plans, and what is put in the budget. So there's need that the two are harmonized, because the CIDP, probably the citizens gave their views, this is what we want. But probably when we go to the budgeting, these are very different. The same programs are not chosen for funding. We also noted that there's a low absorption of funds. Like I said, most counties spend very little money towards development programs, and so much money on maybe paying their workers, or probably on other towards benchmarking. Okay, yeah. So there's need for absorption of funds, particularly in the development projects. Then someone also complained about low citizen participation in county decision making. Citizens have a big voice in saying this is what we want and this is not what we want, because development ultimately is directed to the mwananchi. Yeah. Then there's a tendency to treat wards uniformly, where some require preferential investment. This is in prioritization of projects. You probably say sublocation A needs, let's say, a dam, but there's already a dam in sublocation B, so it was not necessary. Yeah, so citizens also have a big responsibility, such that they identify projects that are required in that ward. Thank you.
We just remain here. Yeah, we appreciate that. Let's appreciate that presentation. I thought it's gone. So this is not hearsay. These are numbers, and I hope they corroborate with what you have on the ground. I hope you notice a lot of similarity between what was said here and the maps that you did. Anybody noticed some similarities here and there? Good. So she will take questions, and we will take first 5 questions. 2 from men, 3 from ladies. Okay, let's start with the gentleman at the very back there. Then we come here. And then that table, choose among the 3 of you who wants to speak. That table that has 3 hands up. So, chagueni mmoja wenyu.
Thanks very much. My question is
Your name, please.
Francis Mukamani of New Kengele, Busia. Now that the governor is not here, the man responsible for health is not here, but as a concerned citizen of this county, I wanted to request the young lady when she goes back to consider Busia County about this conditional grant. Why am I saying so? Busia renders services to across country. They come here for medication. Siaya, they also come here because the nearest health facilities are here in Busia. Bungoma, as one speaker said here, those sites of Nasianda, because of poor facilities, they also flock up to this county. So that conditional grant, when you go back, young lady, please think about Busia.
Thank you very much. Allow me to stop it there. Let's come here. You lose this mic, please.
Thank you, madam, for your good presentation. I have 3 concerns. One, I'm just mentioning without even elaborating. My name is Barasa Nyukuri, Toch Africa, Bungoma County. And just focusing on health and agriculture. The Malabo declaration in agriculture requires a minimum of 10%. Now you are telling us for us, Bungoma, we are allocating 7.25. What have you done as a Commission on Revenue Authority to advise us to do minimum of 10? The Maputo declaration talks about 30% for health. 15, sorry. Some of us are doing less than that. What happens to that? Now, for me, my concern, as you emphasize on infrastructure, we should look at the provisions of Article 43 on eco-social rights. I think infrastructure is not among the hierarchy of those needs.
Thank you. Gentleman there in red.
Okay, I don't want to be...
You're the selected one. One comment, please.
But just to make a clarification on the drop of expenditure from 23 to 14%.
Name and county, please.
Kakamega County, I'm Paul Odongo from NRG, Network for Research and Governance. And we find that we had issues with the CHV. We don't have a community health volunteer policy that as a CSO in Kakamega we are advocating, because we had the scandal for the embezzlement of CHV funds. And that's why the World Bank cut that amount. 2, we also have the Oparanya Care, which means Imarisha Afya ya Mama na Mtoto policy or idea of making sure that the mother who deliver or they're in hospital, they are well catered and given some spending and support. So we actually also concentrated so much on infrastructure development, and that's why also the drop of expenditure. So they're focusing on equipping and not construction, because development expenditure cannot be consistent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. 2 ladies. I must give 2 ladies only, unless none of them wants to say anything.
Point of inquiry.
We are looking for the ladies.
For the ladies, please, kindly. Okay, assuming none is there, let's get. You had made a comment. Let's give somebody else who has not made a comment. If you have not spoken since morning.
There's one here.
Thank you. Hold the mic slightly closer to your mouth.
I'm Sadiq Juma. There is something that you forgotten, but I only wanted to make a...
Which county, please?
Busia County. Yeah. According to national government, the big four agendas, and the president and let us take for example, the president announced that according to his big four agenda, he's going to eradicate maybe some things that affect common mwananchi, especially electricity. We have talked about, I've heard Madam talk about, we have had there the chart and the graph showing that we have some things that affect common mwananchi, especially use of kerosene. So what are some of the measures that we're going to put forward to ensure that those people who use also paraffin, they're going to be upgraded so that they can also join those people who maybe they use electricity? Because the big four agenda, the president announces that all Kenyans that are entitled to use electricity, and they're going to ensure that national government, they fight to ensure that even the common wananchi, they can access to electricity. And nowadays, even if this common wananchi, they can't even afford, for example, to be electrified with the electricity. So what does, we have some diseases, for example, that maybe they come where the people use maybe
Thank you.
paraffin. So,
Thank you. Well noted.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Last one. This gentleman is about to stand on the table.
Thank you. I have a concern with the mortality rate.
Name and county.
Kakamega County. The national one is 165 for 1,000, sindio?
100,000.
To 100,000, sindio? And then Kakamega is having 184. Alafu unakuja Busia 99. Maybe is it because that we in Kakamega are attending hospital more than those, so that we are recording more who are dying, other than those who are recording less, because less people are attending hospital or health facilities because of poor facilities there. It is possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I give back to Kezia. As you notice, our time is really off. So let's try and save and have lunch in the next couple of minutes, if possible.
I want to, Francis Busia, I think that was a comment, so we will take it up. And I say that Busia is not the only county that wants a conditional grant on account of it being a border town. There's also a concern from Mombasa County that say that since they have the ports and they do a lot of shipments in and out of the country, exports and imports, so they should also be considered for a conditional grant to take care of that. So that is taken into account. We will raise it up in our next meeting on the conditional grants. The Baraza from Bungoma on the allocation, the Malabo 10% and the Abuja 15% to health. I want to say that it's really up to the county, because what we do as CRA is that our formula is not a budgeting tool. It is just a revenue sharing tool. So counties therefore have autonomy, yeah, to allocate their own funds. They have autonomy in terms of budgeting. What you realize is that what we share to the counties is not conditional. It is an unconditional allocation to the counties. So we cannot attach any conditions on how much counties should spend on health or how much counties should spend on agriculture. However, it is good standards, like you said, to spend at least 10% of your total budget to agriculture and at least 15% on health. In any case, these are the two main health sectors, and most people at any given point will seek for health or they will need something to do with agriculture. Kakamega, well, they've concentrated so much in infrastructure. Well, I don't know about the numbers. You come from Kakamega, so okay, if you say so. However, what about other sectors? Are you concentrating so much probably on roads and leaving out other sectors? And like you said, development should be equitable. It should be balanced. So you cannot allocate so much to any given sector and leave out another sector. It should be balanced and should be harmonious across board. Because there are some people who will need the roads, the others who will need a service in agriculture, the others will need a service in health. So when people come asking you, what about health or what about agriculture? Will you tell them that, no, we've concentrated on roads? It needs to be harmonious and at least serve everybody. Then the mortality in Kakamega from 184, well, unless we do more research to really see if more people in Kakamega attend health facilities and as a result probably they die in the health facility as compared to probably Busia. That's an area for research. I don't have the answer because I don't have the data. Then Juma from Busia, the electricity and the measures that need to be put forward. And I want to say that development is collaborative. No any one arm of government is left alone to develop the counties. So counties, as well as the national government, have a responsibility to bring development to the people. And like I said, the national government has been involved in the last mile connectivity that I think connects households to electricity as low as I think 3,000 shillings. So development is collaborative. Both arms of government are supposed to collaborate to bring development to every part of the county. Thank you.
Let's appreciate her as she takes her seat. Thank you so much for that. And just to say that she's here till the end of the conversation, so in case you need to pick up a conversation with her, as I said earlier, the CEO was supposed to be here, but he had to be called back. He was already in Busia, but had to go back to Nairobi because of other. Now, this is where I implore democracy. We have had to do away with one session, the panel, because our time is out. But there is something that it will be very wrong for us to go without doing. It's called the World Cafe. We have a lot of work that has been ongoing by different actors in this space, and it will be nice to hear what they are doing and engage with them. So we don't want to miss that particular session, but I want us to agree on something. It is 12 past 2. Can we agree we go for lunch by 3 o'clock? Unaweza kubali tu we spread up to just 3 p.m. please. We were to finish by 2 o'clock, but just allow us up to 3 o'clock, and I promise that we will not go past 3 o'clock because we know some people have to travel to a distance from here. Good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask our colleagues from, as the desks are being identified, I'm going to ask Kazungu and Kabia. I don't know who among them. They have been given 5 minutes. I'll give them 3 to just give one final input on this whole discussion. They do a lot of research. They do a lot of focused work on this. Evelyn and Kazungu, I don't know who among you is giving the expert opinion. Just come, please. So the 3 minutes start counting now on a light touch. So we are identifying desks. So you will see some desks being identified. And then after this, I will be inviting Francis to come and give us the direction. So, karibuni.
Hi everyone. Najua njaa imeanza kushika lakini so I have 2 main things. I'm Jacob. I'm a health economist. I work with Cambridge Wellcome Trust. And the key things that I think should be done to, to deal with inequities. One is the focus should be on primary health care. We know that the primary health care is the first point of entry into the health system for most patients, okay? And evidence from our work and other work from other countries has shown that it is actually very cheap and it is more effective in keeping people healthy. Because the aim of the health system is not to treat, but to at least make people, to prevent the illnesses that people have. And the second point is we should ensure that people have access to health insurance. We know people suffer financial issues because we all don't know when we are going to fall sick, and we don't know how much we're going to spend when we fall sick, okay? So health insurance is one of the key things that removes barriers to accessing health care. So we are lobbying for a tax-funded system where everyone can access health care for free at the point of use, but it's being paid overall by every one of us, whether you need care or you don't, through tax funding.
So I'll just add one more point about equity, which is about ensuring equal access to equal need. But within our communities, we need to look at who are these, which categories of people have greater needs, meaning that they need to get more access to care. Like we've mentioned about, when you look at age, I think someone has mentioned about access to youth-friendly services. So you might have health facilities, but if they're not youth-friendly, the youth will actually not go to seek those health services. Another vulnerable group we see is people with disabilities. As we've seen, they tend to be left behind. Like when you look at transport systems, are they disability friendly? Ukiangalia matatu zenye ziko huku ama bus, are they accessible for someone who has a wheelchair? Can they be able to use a ramp to get into a matatu? So some of our work that we've done with people with disabilities, we find that they either pay double transport cost because it maybe I have a visual disability. I might need someone to take me to the whole hospital. But if I'm just an ordinary person, I'll just incur one transport cost. But if I'm disabled, I need someone maybe to take me, that's double transport cost for me. So we need to look at these factors. And then when they reach at the health facility, are there sign language interpreters for people with disabilities? Are there guides to guide people who are visually impaired? Because it means they'll tend to take longer at the health facilities, meaning they're not getting equal care to someone who can just navigate the health facility easily. Then in terms of education, we need to ensure that there's equal access to education for everyone. And some research done has shown that in Western Kenya, counties where there is reduced maternal education, you also find there is higher mortality for children under 5. So it means we need to ensure that there is access to education for everyone. And then also the issue of poverty, we've seen from Neema's story, for poor people, they might opt to forgo care to be able to earn a livelihood. So when you look at equity to access, we need to consider who are these vulnerable groups who are more likely to be left behind and what can we do more for them. And that calls for more of a multi-sectoral action from civil society, for county governments, from the Ministry of Health and from the Ministry of Education, just concerted effort within the community to see, are we leaving behind the vulnerable groups because they are more likely not to access health services, education, and any other public services. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Kemri? At this point, we want to go to the next item in the agenda. And on the interest of time, this is how the World Cafe is done. We have the following in your program. We have Kemri, then we have Amref, we have Redo on Bungoma, then Kakamega 1, then Kakamega 2, then the last one is CEDC. So we have tables that we've marked. What you do, these are the instructions. You have an name tag, right? If you have blue, then you move to Kemri table. Blue, Kemri table. Amref, you move to the yellow table, far behind. Those ones with the yellow, sorry. You go behind. Then the ones with black like mine, we move to Bungoma, Redo. Then we have Kakamega 1. If you have white, you move where Kakamega 1 is written. Then you have pink. You go to where Habel is. Habel is on the other side. Then green, the development initiative. Then who is left? Purple. CEDC, you go to where purple is. Those ones with the purple, you go to where CEDC is. Then while you're there,
Chukua muda kidogo to settle down. So what happens is this: there's in every table there's a person who is leading the discussions and sharing. So what happens? We are giving you 5 minutes to learn and ask questions in each table. Then, after 5 minutes, I'm going to time. You move to the next table. We are saying, after 5 minutes in that table, we will be asking you to move to the next table, because what we are sharing is not the same. We have different inequalities, manifestations, and how it is distributed. So we have a number of issues that each table is sharing. We have Bungoma, we have Kakamega, we have Busia, we have AMREF, we have development initiatives. So the aim of this is make us learn from each cafe, so that by the time we are done, we will just be winding up the discussions. Tuko sawa sawa? I believe we are set to start.
No. Let's not. After we need space, so let's sit the other side. We need some space. Let's move.
Things that we are seeing. One of the things, I don't know if you are aware, that Busia is still ranked among the poorest county in Western region. Are we aware of that? And if Busia is ranked among the poorest county in terms of poverty in Western region, then there are a lot of things that contributes towards that. One of the things that we are seeing is that among the poverty index rating, only one ward in Busia County that was that has a household that lives above poverty line is only one ward, and that is Angorom ward that has 30% of its residents living above poverty line, no below poverty line, only 30%. And then you realize Angorai South ward, Angorai North ward has 48%, and the rest falls way below 50% of poverty line. So under the worst of it, we have a ward that lives at 75% of poverty line. So that one again try to explain why do we have these disparities and inequalities. So I believe basically maybe who can guess why Angorom ward you think most of its residents, you can say they are a bit well off. Is it because of proximity to the town?
Because they are
next to the border. So it contributes maybe for them being better in terms of infrastructure. When you try to define equity, in terms of is it infrastructure, is it health services, is it agriculture, is it, what are these things that can try to define inequalities and equalities in the world. And then we did a broad something like analysis in terms of looking at ward-based budgets. And in the ward-based budgets, there are certain things that were glaring, things that we saw. And these ward-based budgets, who can predict and guess how much each ward gets? 25 million. So if every ward gets 25 million, is that a fair distribution of resources? Because again, do all these wards have similar problems? Are they equal in terms of the standard of living, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of health services, in terms of agriculture? You realize some wards are better off than other wards. Some wards are even vast, bigger than other wards. Some wards are at the periphery, very far away than other wards. For instance, in Teso North, you realize some wards like Malaba North, maybe, like Angorai South, You realize some wards in Samia, like Buiri, some wards in Budalangi, like Bunyala South, are more poverty rates so high, and yet they're all getting 25 million. So that's one key area that we found out tries to show inequalities. We also looked at inequalities in terms of distribution of resources across the departments. So Busia County budget is distributed in 13 departments, 13 key departments. Now, how is resources distributed in these 13 key departments? From the sharing had with the CRA, realized that they are thinking of health and agriculture to be more service heavily or service burdened departments. Then how much are they getting in terms of budgetary allocation? So you realize there are some departments that are getting more money in terms of budget allocations vis-a-vis at the expense of services. For instance, if we get more resources in the department of it's called finance, economic planning, and ICT than agriculture, then what does that translate? So it's important for us to understand what is this allocation going to do in that department of finance and ICT vis-a-vis agriculture and health. So those are some of the things that we've been looking and seeing. And then even you realize like health department, in the preceding years, its budgetary allocation in the ward-based budget has been going down and down and down and down and down. So we did some small analysis of the 2018-2019 budget, where health department got 26% of the total share of the budget. But coming, that's in the approved budget. Coming 2019-2020, it went down to 24%. Then what's that one telling us? There's something that is not right, or that is right that we don't understand, we don't know. Or there's some priorities that we are missing, or that we didn't focus on as people of Busia County, that actually health can be a priority. So another thing that was coming out strongly is now the ward-based budget, because our Busia County government budget is split in the mainstream budget and the ward-based budget. So you realize the ward-based budget, they had allocated only 40 million towards health, out of 875 millions. Only 40 million, the 35 wards had allocated on health services. So, and these are more development budget, because it's not recurrent. By recurrent, I mean this is money that is used on things like salaries, things like medicines and all that. But these are development money that's supposed to use to build things, tangible things you can see. So and that one is able again to define why we have so many like stalled projects in our wards. You realize a project had been started and then in Isimama it's not going anywhere. So and these are in wards. So that explains the inequalities. So 11 wards spent 0 shillings. 11 wards, 0 shillings on health under ward-based budget out of 35 wards. Then what does that one tell us? Then it means those people who are trying to do budgets around maybe the ward-based budget, they're not taking health as a serious issue or as something that is a priority. And I have statistics of the wards. I can even be able to share with us some of the wards that shared 0 allocations on. So I'm able to share, for instance, Agenga Nanguba ward had 0 allocation on health. Angorom ward had 0 allocation on health. Buhayo Central 0, Bunyala Central 0, Bunyala West 0, Elugulu 0, Kingandole 0, Malaba Central 0, Malaba South 0 allocation, that's Malaba South 0 allocation, Malaba North 0 allocation, Marachi North 0, Marachi West 0, Namboboto Nambuku 0. Now, going more narrower down, then I realized that in Teso South sub-county, looking at ward-based budgets, had the highest allocation in health, because they allocated 33% of their ward-based budget. Cumulatively, you take the 6 wards in Teso South, allocated 33% of their cumulative resources around ward-based to health. So that is an estimate of 14.2 million. Now, out of this 14.2 million, now it's critical for us to start thinking as citizens, where is this money going? For instance, the money in Angorom ward towards health, for instance, or Chakolo South ward towards health, what is it going to do? Is it going, are we able to see a tangible result of that money in specific places? A practical example is not being like biased. Angorom South ward had the highest allocation of its allocation towards health, and it put 8 million to health. That's a good figure, isn't it? That's one word. Now, it's also again critical for us to start following up. What are these things this 8 million is going to do? in the entire ward. It's a big ward with so many dispensaries, so many health centers, and other facilities. Now, if that money is put to buy a van, one van, 8 million to buy one van, and we have laboratories that are stalled, we have maternities that are not working, we have all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Then what is it translating? It can be big, huge money we put on health, but specifically for what purpose? It can be a lot of money we put to health, but maybe one van, is it going to serve the entire ward? So those are some, again, critical questions to start asking. As much as we are saying this, maybe less or no money, then what is this money again going to do? And the worst of it was Samia. Samia had 40%, the entire Samia sub-county, of its ward-based budget allocation towards health. That's translating of 1.5 million. The entire 4 wards in Samia only put 1.5 million in health. 1.5 million. Out of 100 million, because if there are 4 wards times 25 million, then it means that's 100 million. So if the entire sub-county can be able only to put 1.5 million to health, then that is something, again, we start asking, are those guys who are sitting on the decision-making prioritization of issues or development programs in the county or in our wards or in our sub-counties, what are these things they are looking as being very important to them? So what are these things that actually are striking out to be very key and very important to them? So those are some of the things that we've been seeing in these wards. And then you realize, even trying to look cumulatively in terms of how the health budget is behaving in wards, again, it's different. You realize some wards, there are certain things that are increasing, some wards they are again moving down. For instance, you realize a ward this year they put more money on health, next year they are putting less money on health. So the question we'll be asking is, then what makes it so? Why? Did the priorities change? Have we tackled the issues that were a problem or issues in the previous financial year before they're asking us tukuje tuzungumuze mambo ya bajeti, tukuje tuseme miradi yetu? Are we going and then asking ourselves and asking these guys ya kwamba these are the things you guys had thought we put in these plans?
Hello?
And then tell us the status so far.
We should be moving to the next group.
In terms of budget making, I see
the guys in white, you move to Camry.
The county service providers, both the executive wing and
The guys in black,
we have seen the conflict in
you move to
MCA
Amref.
and the ward and the ward manager.
The team in blue, you move to Bungoma. Redo. Let us rotate. Green, you move to Kakamega 1. Yellow, you move to Kakamega 2. Abel.
So there's no harmony
in
terms of
pink, you
people
move
working
to
around
CEDC.
budgets. And you realize sometimes even there's no citizen engagement or
And
participation in the
purple,
process.
you move to DI.
So thank you very much. I'm being pushed that we move. So, but we'll share
Black,
everything. I'm here.
you move to
So we'll be
Amref.
sharing.
White, you move to Camry. Blue, you move to Bungoma. Green, you move to Kakamega 1. Yellow, you move to Kakamega 2, Haben. Pink, you move to CEDC. And purple, you move to DI.
It's okay. Welcome.
Purple, you move to DI. Development Initiatives. Pink, CEDC.
These are pinks.
Yellow, Kakamega Haben.
What's wrong?
Green, Kakamega 1. Redo, blue. Amref black. Then Camry white. Tumepatana? Our time starts now.
We need this space. We need this space. We need this space, so you either move that.
DI, sorry for being disturbed a little bit, but kindly come forward in this table because of our colleague. Thank you for moving, and thank you for flexibility.
Habari zenu. Mimi naitwa Evelyn.
Naitwa Kazungu.
Kazungu. Tunafanya kazi na Kemri Welcome Trust. Si tunafanya kazi ofisi ya Nairobi, but the main office inakonga Kilifi. The main hub inakonga Kilifi. So Kemri it's a research institution. Huwa tunafanya utafiti kuhusu magonjwa mingi. Kuna HIV and AIDS, tunafanya utafiti kuhusu magonjwa ya watoto wadogo under 5 years, services za kina mama kama maternity services, tunaangalia about management of health facilities, lakini kwa leo sijui kama mko na hii brief, ilikuwa kwa booklet zenu. Inaongea tu about what is equity in health, na tumeshaongea hiyo, ni kumaanisha kuwa watu wanafaa wapate the same kind of care irrespective of your gender, of your age, of your ability status. That's what you're talking about. Alafu hapo kuna kazi tumeongea about NHIF ya kuonyesha that in Kenya unapata like the poor when you are health insurance ni 3%, lakini among the rich unapata ni 39%. Ni kama that around 38%. Unapata like coverage ya NHIF is very high among the rich compared to the poor. So it means kuna inequity, hawezi pata huduma za afya the same because they don't have coverage. Alafu pia hapo tunaonyesha about some research work tulifanya with poor people, which we've discussed hapa, the challenges that people face even in Busia counties. Umesema like health facilities maybe hazitoshi. Umesema like roads, they are not enough. Sindio, we talked about availability of drugs, all those things we've discussed. And some of the things that we found additionally kwa research yetu when we are looking at poor people is that people pay bribes at health facilities. I don't know if that is something that happens in Busia County. Watu wanalipa bribes to access health facilities. Yes, because the poor people that we interviewed actually in one county in Western Kenya, which I will not mention, and one in Nairobi County, and we found that people pay services to either skip queue because the queue is too long, or to get drugs at a subsidized cost. Kama ni 500, unaambia nipe 300 nitakupatia dawa, and many other things that they do. I don't know if that is something that is happening hapa kwetu Busia County, and find vitu kama hizo zinazuia, like if you're poor, you don't have the money to pay a bribe, means you'll be excluded from those services. Other things that happen that influence equity in care ni kama strikes. There's like 2016, 2015, 2016 strikes zilikuwa for a very long period of time, sindio? So hata kama health facilities ziko hapa, but there are no people, it means people won't access, hawatapata hiyo huduma that they need, sindio? And then I think those are some of the key things, but other things tushaongea about access to people with disabilities. So sijui kama mko na maswali fulani yenye mngetaka tujibu. Yeah.
I can see Kemri.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we also have a problem with accessibility in that it's not based on the country.
Yeah.
Right? We have to Kemri and Lupe. We don't have the same program here. So that's one area where you can try to explain on how to plan the next step so that the rest of the Kenyans can also get these services.
Okay, so for the program, it has many links with different county governments. Like there's a program called CIN, where they work with various hospitals around the country to see how they can improve their quality of care and also management. And it's like, I think in 14 to 18 counties. So they try to work with the county governments and also the hospitals in trying to see how they can help them improve their quality of care. But it's not in all the counties, unfortunately. It's like in a number, about 18 counties in the country. Yeah. Yeah.
But their plans to maybe extend to the rest of the country.
Well, not any that we are aware of at the moment, but as my colleague was saying, I think the main approach we are using is when we have a study, we go to different counties, not necessarily just one county, and talk to those people within those counties, and we keep on working with different and make partnerships with different and many other counties. So expanding as of now, I can't tell you yes, but I can't also tell you no, because I don't know about the main plan.
Are you in Busia?
Yes, yes. There's a study going on in Busia. They support facilities within Busia County.
Nataka kuweza upande wa agriculture kwa sababu tunafanya utafiti. Sasa hivi kuna mvua nyingi inanyesha. Kuna maji mengi yanateremka. Na by December ama Januari watu wataanza kulia. Kuna maji. Hakuna mimea inakauka. Na nao unafanya utafiti kwa kuhakikisha kwamba mnaboresha mpangilio gani upo ambaye kama KEMRI kwa kipindi chenu na kupita katika hiyo kiwango ili tuweze kuepukana na mambo ya ukame, kukosa maji mpaka tunategemea mvua. Mna advice namna gani the county to use hii nafasi ambayo maji mengi yanateremka na kuendelea bahari?
Well, ni swali zuri sana. But as KEMRI we deal tunahusiana haswa na utafiti wa kiafya. Okay? Kwa hivyo kuna mashirika mengine kama NDOC, National Drought Management Authority, ambayo inashughulika na mambo hasa ya mazingira ya unyunyizaji wa maji ama mazingira, vitu kama hivyo. Lakini sisi kama KEMRI tunajihusisha tu na utafiti wa kiafya. Unfortunately, lakini tungependa, lakini hatuwezi fanya kila kitu. But kwa sasa tunafanya tu utafiti wa kiafya pekee.
Upande acha nikuje kidogo upande wa kiafya. Tuna utafiti unaendelea nao. Tunaona ya kwamba NHIF kwa watu ambao katika hali ya chini hawafiki. Na juzi nikitembelea Huduma Center kuandikisha NHIF, inasemekana mashine imeharibika na karibu inaenda mwaka moja na nusu hapo. Hata kosa kurudi huko tena. Sasa mwananchi wa kawaida ambaye kwa mashinani akipata ripoti kama hiyo atajiandikishaje? Na hatuoni kama community health workers ambao wako katika mashinani wanafanya kwa idara ya health kama level 1 na hawajapewa hiyo mandate ya kusaidia mashinani kuhakikisha kwamba wale hawajiwezi kufikia huko na hawa wanawafikia kwa wapi ya kuwasaidia. Katika utafiti upande wa kiafya sasa mkifuatilia that line, how are you going to get it past?
I think NHIF kidogo wamejaribu in terms of wamehakikisha like in every county kuna branch yao ya NHIF, lakini bado kuna hiyo challenge that haijafika kila mahali. So hata kuna research nyingine tulikuwa tumefanya na with just community members about NHIF, na hiyo that was one of a major problem that watu wenye wako mashinani kama kwa sub county na ward lazima ufike like kama ni Busia County ndio upate ofisi ya NHIF. And maybe for the NHIF they're trying to see if they can open branches within the sub county, na pia wana involve like agents wa bank kama KCB, Cooperative Bank to enable people to pay and also open hizo accounts za NHIF. So I try to involve agents to see if people can be able to make their payments through agents. But still bado kuna shida in terms of access to watu wenye wako mbali huko mashinani.
Then I'm becoming a bit monotonous, but I've got something on NHIF, especially on quality. The NHIF is a bit discriminating, especially for the non-employed people.